Here's a dirty fighting technique that I think many of us have used. It's a pretty good protectant factor. It's called leaving. Leaving is walking out of the room or leaving home, refusing to talk, or just tuning the other person out. It prevents discussion of the issue at hand, and it makes it appear that the other person is the only one at fault. Now, I think, as I said, all of us have done this at some point, because what leaving looks like, let me just go this way. Leaving is sometimes obvious. You're like, I'm freaking done with this. I'm not listening to any more of this garbage. You walk out and you slam the door. That's leaving. And some of you, because I've taught this in classes, have said, no, I've never left. Until I've given a different example. Leaving is sometimes they're going on, and you're sitting there like, you done? See, leaving, you never have to leave the room. Leaving can happen right in here, because you know what? I'm done. Now, I'll often teach this technique called the 24-hour rule in my classes. It's a technique to show people that, okay, look, right now I'm too tired, we're overwhelmed, our anger's too high, our cortisol is too high, it's just going to be unproductive. Let's hold this conversation till tomorrow. That's not leaving. That's saying, I'm smart enough to know this won't be productive. Leaving is when you do it and you don't tell the other person. They have no idea if you're going to come back to the issue, if you're just done, if you're done with them, what you're thinking. And that's why I say, when you just look at them like, okay, that's leaving. And it's always unproductive, because every discussion needs to be at least worked towards resolution. Manage it. Something that says to the other person, yes, it's not you that I don't like. I just am not ready for this conversation. And sometimes we're not. And we do have to talk about the fact that, for instance, when it's money, you never want to talk. Oh, you never want to talk. Every time we get to this conversation, you tune me out. Well, then we need to find a way to talk about finances, because they're causing us a problem. But for the most part, there are some issues or some days where you're like, you know what? I just got chewed out at work. The dog died. I don't feel well. I don't have the energy to talk about this today. Can we do this another time? And let the other person know that you are in fact going to readdress this issue. So don't ever leave your spouse, your mate, the person with whom you're having the conflict, because it says to them, you are not worth it. And let's face it, whether you're married or unhappy and you're just miserable in your marriage, you're like, I don't really give a care about this person. Guess what? You're married. You're stuck with that person for the rest of your life. And so you can be stuck with that person and miserable, because remember, even if you divorce, that's not legal in God's eyes. You're married till the day you die, and you're walking into adultery. So you're married whether you think you get divorced or not. Or you can learn to be with that person and be happy. It's what I had to do. I realized I was stuck with Danny Bacon, and I could have just been a jerk to him or wished he went away. Or I could have learned to manage the conflict. Leaving doesn't manage conflict. Leaving devalues the person, leaves the conflict as it is, and sometimes escalates it. So be a bigger man or a bigger woman. Be willing to do what's tough. If it were your kids, you'd walk on hot coals. You'd take a bullet. You can do this. Don't protect yourself, because that always hurts the other person. And if you don't know how to do this, that's why there's people like me out there. I can help you learn how to handle that conflict and walk through it when all you'd rather do is just stop and you don't want to listen to them. Relationships are hard. I get it. Because as I've gone through this list, I realize I've used every one of these dirty fighting techniques. None of them worked. What worked is the things I'm telling you. When I learned to deal with them. When I learned not to leave. When I learned to say, look, I love you. I can't do it right now, but tomorrow I promise we'll talk about this. Or let's text. Because sometimes when you text, you're not putting the emotion in there that overwhelms the conversation. Lots of techniques I could teach you. But for now, don't use leaving. Give it a timeout instead. Let your partner know, look, I'm still in it. I'm just overwhelmed. I'll get back with you on this issue, I promise. And then get back with them. It's what Jesus would do. All right. Go out and have a great day. I'm here for you.